So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ask YP Now show. It's a show focusing on positive living, work-life balance, living with passion, success in life and business, and most importantly, to make the world a better place. And tonight, we've got a special guest with us. He's Tommi and comes all the way from Malta. So, Tommi, you want to say hi to our guests and introduce yourself? Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Tommi. I am a testimonial video maker, originally from the UK, now living in Gozo, Malta.
Wow. Isn't Malta an exotic place to live in? Why do you choose to live in Malta?
It was just it was the place I knew the most, apart from the UK. My family has history there. My
Okay.
grandfather and great grandfather were here in the armed forces. I've been coming over for business for many years, and I left during the pandemic when things were getting a bit hairy, and it was just literally the only place I knew. And the fact it spoke English made life a lot simpler.
Okay. So, if you want to look where Malta is, I was just doing a bit of Googling. You've got the end of Italy, isn't it? It's somewhere right in between Italy and the African continent, right? One of the sets of islands in
That's
between.
that's right. We're probably about 30 minutes flight from Tunisia, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much near enough the same Libya, and even close, I would say, to Sicily.
Okay, so definitely, I've added another country, Malta, into my bucket list. I just love traveling. So, Tommi, can you share with us? You mentioned that you focus on video testimonials and yeah. So, what got you into this industry? How come you're doing videos, and how come you're focusing on a niche of testimonials? Okay, right.
Well, I used to be a struggling video maker.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was wondering why anybody would pick little old me to do their work, especially because I had not so much experience, not a lot of money for camera equipment. And then one day, by accident, I was filming with a client who'd got me to do a difficult project, and we were just chatting with his client because I was filming him at work, and the client says, I asked, the client of the client, shall we say, or the client of my
Okay.
client. I said to
Okay.
him, why did you pick him? Why did you want to work with my client? Why did you want to work with that guy who was in social media? And he stroked his chin like Ming the Merciless and said,
Mm.
well, at first I didn't want him to do my social media. I wanted to do it. But over time, I had lots of vans. I had a business to run. It was impossible. So I gave him a trial, and I noticed that the language that his posts on my behalf started using was like the way I talk, and I kind of liked that. And I'd at the time, without thinking about it, hit the record button on my camera, and a few weeks later, I got a phone call from that guy in social media. Where's this video that you filmed of this guy saying this stuff? And I says, oh, I've thrown it away. Oh, that wasn't important. We were filming lots of other things. That was just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, I didn't know why I filmed it. He says, oh, no, you can't have done that. That's terrible. Go find it. And after 2 weeks of digging, I managed to find, a copy that I'd not destroyed. And this was like maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
And he took it straight away, put it on his website, and wanted more of them. And the light bulb went off and made me realize, wow, if something that was made for pretty much zero money and, you know, and got the most satisfaction of all, maybe I should just focus on that. And
Okay.
I niched down.
Yeah.
I originally it was going to be. I was advised. I saw a video by a guy called Stephen Thomas, and he said, use the smallest thing you do as a key into building a relationship with a customer and doing more projects." And that was
Mm-hmm.
the initial plan. So I did those. I did little feedback videos, and it turns out that rather than doing bigger projects, I was happier just doing these feedback videos and doing more of them, because when you repeat a process again and again, you get better at it. And it was always the thing that customers cared more about most. You know, they just wanted to hear people say nice things about him. And that had a lot of value in persuading others to work with him. So rather than focus on buying more expensive camera equipment,
Okay.
I just, you know, put all my effort into doing this one little niche.
So what sort of equipment do you use? Okay, let's say you say you don't go into expensive, you know, for somebody who wants to, let's say, start taking, you know, feedback testimonials, what do they need?
Well, originally I was using what they call a DSLR, you know, one of those cheap digital cameras for taking pictures that have, you know, you put your own lenses on. And that was what, probably worth a few hundred, not much more. Most people were bringing in, you know, stuff worth of thousands. And then the pandemic happened and we couldn't go visit people's houses. Luckily, you know, so I can go film people, you know, that was the problem. And I was very worried about my income. Fortunately, I trialed with a client a year before, doing this via Zoom when it wasn't, when it wasn't such a well-known thing. And the reason we did that was because, you know, he had a client much further away in England, somewhere like Coventry or Birmingham, and he didn't want to have to pay for me to travel all the way to that area, stay overnight, and then travel back and pay for my time on top of it. It's quite expensive. He says, is there another way? So we tried Zoom, and it turned out to be his favorite video because the visuals were, you know, I'd done many for him, and the visuals were fine on the Zoom call. We'd made sure of that. But the only thing he cared about was not whether it was filmed with an expensive camera. He just cared what the guy was saying about him.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I thought, great, maybe that will be a niche service, but I don't think it will be the popular one because people won't want to use Zoom or won't want to use something that's not at least done with a camera worth a few £100. Then the pandemic happened. We all went into our little caves, and I'm struggling to wonder how I could make an income. And then somebody gets hears about that I've done them over Zoom before, and he says, could you do one for me? I need to make a promo video. And then he says, I like that. Could you do a testimonial or a feedback video for somebody I know in my BNI chapter? Yeah, sure. And then that became the model for the period of the pandemic, when we were locked down in our houses. At that time, I'd just gone on a brief trip to Malta that ended up being a couple of months, almost. And because I'd been running the thing over Zoom, I was still running it over Zoom when I was in Malta, and nothing. It was like it could have been as if I was in England. It made no difference, you know, and that was surprising to me. I still thought when I went back to England, which I eventually did, that things would, you know, go back to normal, and people would insist that I go to visit offices. So I wasn't pushing it. And when I was in England for about 2 weeks, I could see another lockdown coming. I could see COVID cases rising, and the politicians weren't very persuasive about how they were handling it. And I got on a plane pretty much after isolating from my fathers and went back to Malta, not knowing exactly when I could come home safely. And so I was still running things on Zoom again from Malta. You know, for a country of 2 populated islands, they're both quite small. It's got amazing internet, and you know, better than most places a lot of places in England, I know. And eventually, after being there for many months, I just, you know, thought, well, everybody was telling me I was better off in Malta, and I decided to stay later on. And in the meantime, markets had opened up to America, you know, Canada, places that I would never have dreamed of doing before the pandemic. And as you notice, we're all working in a much more global fashion now as service providers. You know, we can work with people that weren't an option in the past. We can do it a lot easier. And so that opened doors up to, you know, the United States, even Australia, Malta to England. It didn't matter where I was. And so
Okay, that's
Zoom has
true.
become Zoom has become the normal thing. And as long as the video quality is, of good standard, i.e., you're not in silhouette, you're not, your sound is good, then people only care about what you have to say.
Yeah, Zoom has got has come a long way actually.
Yeah.
In terms of the quality of the video, the sounds, and everything. It's almost like a complete standalone, system that can record. Yeah.
Very, very much. And I mean, I would, if I was, if I was the subject of a testimonial right now, I'd use a better camera than the one on my laptop. But the interesting thing about Zoom, which is an improvement, funny enough, over expensive camera equipment, is that the sound, the ability to filter noise out of the sound is amazing. Client, usually I will have to spend a certain amount of time removing hiss and noise at a professional level, but now anybody can usually get, as long as there's not, a concert going on outside, can usually get a decent quality sound through this free technology.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Tommi. When you say you do a video, a feedback testimonial over Zoom, how does it come across? Is it a single screen, single person talking? Is it like an interview style, or is it like what people are saying right now, two screens, of both of us?
It's a really good technical question. I did both. Used to have just one screen, before going to two. And the reason was that when it was the speaker, one screen with the speaker only, sometimes the person asking the questions would talk, and then the camera or the screen would hang on their face rather than the the subject answering the questions. So you'd get a person talking with the wrong face, and that was a bit strange. So I started filming with two screens and then just cropping later on, which is actually pretty easy to do. You can do it on a phone.
And now with Zoom, right? If you record to cloud, they give you all the different options, isn't it? Especially when you do a training with PowerPoints, they give you recording with PowerPoints, with just the speaker itself, a speaker or a PowerPoint with speaker in a small window and so on, right?
You can have everything. I prefer to download directly to my computer, because there's less chance of something going wrong in the meantime, and I have immediate access and back it up. I always suggest backing it up 3 times on your computer, on something portable, into the cloud.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So, obviously from the way you're sharing, you're very passionate about doing feedback videos, So what's your why? Why are you so passionate about wanting to share this concept or this idea with potential clients or with the public? Why are you sharing all these ideas? Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good people who do great work, but get judged before they have the chance to do that work. I'm not a very corporate guy. I'm on the autistic spectrum. I have Asperger's. And although people only would notice that unless I, told them these days, or unless they have a family member with it, they, nonetheless, I can't pretend to be Mr. Corporate. I can't walk in a room and blend in the corporate setting like was expected a long time ago. At some point, I will always say something that I wouldn't say alienates, but just doesn't, fit in with how, people talk in a very kind of regimented environment. And there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, can't blend in. They can't put on the corporate, mask, but they're brilliant. And on the other hand, there's a lot of people in the corporate world, not everybody, who can act in a very corporate fashion. They can, they can talk the talk, but they're terrible suppliers. And on top of that, I'd probably have to add social charm. People, there are people that have got a very charming way socially and have a positive, a friendly vibe towards others, but compared to other people who are introverts and really struggle to talk to people and say the right things and, build that charisma that makes people want to work with you.
Yeah.
And yet that doesn't correspond with necessarily to whether they're good suppliers or not, whether they do a good job for people. You know, a lot of them have, you know, it works both ways. Introverts and extroverts can be good or bad people, but usually most of the work goes to the extroverts.
That's right. Yeah.
Because they know how to charm a room.
They
And
say, Tommy, the squeakiest wheel gets the oil or gets the attention.
yeah, that is largely true. And so by producing feedback videos, the people who do a good job, whether they're introverts or extroverts, or whether they're people who can, you know, feel comfortable in the corporate world or not, everybody gets to be judged on, you know, their own merits, their own work. You know, I don't think I know people. A lot of people would like to believe they live in a society where you get judged on the standard of your work, but I've seen a lot of doors get opened to people on the basis of who they know since they were born. You know what I mean? So it's by showing people how to make feedback videos, everybody who's got talent can prove it.
You are creating in a sense you are creating more opportunities or more credibility for people, isn't it, to shine, you know, even if they feel awkward in a corporate situation. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you know, I've done the struggling entrepreneur thing. I've been absolutely broke, sleeping on you know, blow up beds and family members' couches, and getting the speeches of when you're going to go get a normal job, and not struggling to persuade people to give us a chance. And it is, you know, there's a lot of despair with that, and the quicker good people can climb up, the better.
So yeah, hi Aaron. You know, we've got a comment on our chat here. You know, Aaron who says, "Wow, fascinating information and great story." You know, what you're sharing, Tommy, is motivating people. You know, Aaron is also one person who is, you know, a real champion. He's a what do you call that? Award-winning or championship level, you know, competitive athlete. You know, he doesn't let anything stands in his way. He doesn't let disadvantages stand in his way. He's a go-getter. And, you know, getting a comment like that from Aaron is definitely a wow for me. Yeah. So, Tommy, I would actually want to connect you to Aaron at some point. Yeah, he's an amazing guy too. Yeah, out of the UK. Right. Also helping people to find a voice. Right. Okay. So, Tommy. So you know, when people make the feedback videos, where can they use it? You know, how are they gonna use it to, you know, get more business or build up their reputation and so on?
Well, you mentioned a guy who's in the athletic world, and you know, they often talk about incremental gains, not one thing being the source of all the result. And it's a little bit similar with using your feedback. One place isn't going to be enough. There are many channels that you need to put it out there to start bringing in, because, you know, I don't think people need necessarily high volume. They just need, you know, good quality and enough to tick over, you know, and to do well.
Okay.
So, you know, start with the obvious, the website. You know, some people get a video done, they sit on it, they don't put it on the website. They say it's going to be expensive to do a website, but they don't think about having a simple one-page, you know, landing page done.
Yeah.
You know, build a landing page around it, get it done quickly, because people, it's like the chocolate at Easter in the supermarket. People see that in the shop window and they go towards it, and then they go buy everything else in there. You know, it needs to be, that's the thing they go for, you know. So website's one. Social media is obvious, you know, make it not just a Facebook post, but the pinned Facebook post. Make it put a link to it in your Instagram account, Instagram bio, so people go there.
Okay.
Tell people to go check it out. LinkedIn, make it a featured item on your LinkedIn post. You can post it on YouTube, but then you can make it a featured item, or you can do a LinkedIn post featuring the video and then make that a featured post. Some people will have live chat on their website, and if they don't, I strongly advise it. And if you have live chat, you can leave an automated message saying, we'll come back to you very shortly. In the meantime, feel free to check out our videos. Email signatures. Tell people, you send lots of emails, make sure that every time people see an email, they get a chance to be pointed towards your testimonial video. Zoom calls. Every time somebody's in a waiting room, you can set that waiting room up to play a Zoom video or have a Zoom video ready to play.
So Tommi, you're suggesting multiple places to use the video, but let's say you only got one video. Is there such a thing as you can overuse it?
If it's on one platform, yes. Right, you can't post the same video every week. I would post that same video every 3 months. Because you also don't want to overexpose your client. They're not going to like that. But in terms of spreading it all over the place, no, because different platforms bring in different audiences. Not everybody on Facebook who uses Facebook is going to be active on LinkedIn. Maybe a mix. The same people who see your website aren't necessarily going to be reading your emails. So it's spreading it quite thinly. Probably the one I miss, and probably the most crucial one, maybe if you're in a business network, or a charitable business network such as BNI, is making so that you teach all the members to share the videos with prospects.
Okay, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
We talk about members of a networking group being our sales team, but we're not always the most skilled salespeople. We can train them and make them better, but if we can give them the maximum chance of getting us a result, we should do. And if we can explain to them to share that video rather than talk about our services at length, because as I said, we can't always explain it as well as we'd like. If they have a video of your customer, that's probably going to carry a lot more weight, and it's easily shared.
Okay. So Tommi, for let's say a person in business, a small to medium sized business, how many feedback videos do you think they need, to be able to, I suppose, put them through a cycle, use, rinse and reuse, how many would they actually need?
It varies on the sector. I generally suggest trying to get at least 3 ones with long-term clients. There's two types. So I would get a testimonial from everybody you just finished a job with. So you complete a job, get some feedback quickly, because they will be in that feel-good state. It's like when you buy a new couch, and for 2 weeks you feel really good about it, or a new car, and then afterwards you forget the good feelings that come with it a little bit. 6 months later, for example, you might see that somebody has changed their life because you helped them get a good house or a car that allowed them to take their family to school. You see the long-term benefits. In terms of how many, I do suggest 3, because that proves that you're not just a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
The other thing you can do is you can take those plus 3 or more videos and take the best out of each client and make one video featuring all of them. Usually I would suggest about 1.5 minutes, and it's a bit more dynamic because you're seeing the faces change, but you're hearing different comments from different people, and it delivers the most amount of impact in the shortest amount of time. Some sectors will vary though, because, for example, if you're in insolvency, not so easy, because people don't like to talk about their issues that might be embarrassing to them. Legal is another. Now, it's not impossible. The trick is to keep asking. So some people will get, let's say gifts. You make a gift, the person gets the gift, they're very happy. They might leave a feedback video, no problem. There's nothing vulnerable to share. But when there's something vulnerable to share, like in the legal or insolvency sectors, or they're a bit wary revealing anything about tricks they're doing, although sometimes it's a bit misplaced, then, then you can, you can use that video. And then you can, 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 you can it's important to keep asking, because somebody at some point will say yes. But you don't get that unless you keep asking. So you need to make a routine out of every long-term customer you work with, or even the short-term ones who come for a very quick service. There's a lot of the time somebody will come into your office or come onto Zoom, we'll get some consultancy, we'll leave, and we'll be very happy, but we'll never engage you for big projects. But you can still ask them for feedback. You can, because a lot of those people might feel like I'm not saying they're wasting your time, but you don't get any monetary return out of them. But if you gather their feedback and keep showing it to people, then maybe you will. But going back to the sensitive areas, the important thing is to keep asking, because somebody will say yes, and then you'll be able to prove what you can do.
So Tommi, I remember you saying that, so we should have three different clients. Okay, so there's three videos. Yeah, at least, and then you can combine them into one that shows the highlights of all three. So that was about 1.5 minutes, you said, right? So what about those individual videos of one client alone? How long should that be? What's the recommended timeline?
It kind of depends on. I would usually say one client, again, about 1.5 minutes. Mine are a little bit longer, but I usually work with people's long-term clients. And the longer you work with somebody, the more feedback they have to discuss. Whereas, when it's shorter term, when you've just worked with them, they won't be able to share as much value. So you don't want it to last too long. You want to get rid of things like, I see a lot of testimonials doing this. They begin with saying, I am, the subject on camera says, I am Fred. I work at, Fred's Removals. We've been in business for so long, and our company values are like this. You need to delete that straight away, because people who are watching it are not interested. They don't care they don't really care about the subject's years in business, what they do so much, or to a degree. I mean, obviously they'll know what they do, but they don't need to hear them talking about it for 20, for too long. You just need to get straight to what you've done for that client, and the viewers will appreciate and listen to it rather than leave halfway through.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're coming towards the 30-minute mark. So as we wrapped up this session, what tips do you have for people who are just starting to learn or just starting to want to start collecting feedback videos? What tips or what advice would you give to them?
Well, the crucial one is to ask and to make it a routine. Don't make it a one-off event. Don't do it occasionally. Build into your business plan, if you have one, or build into your routine. Work with this client, must ask for testimonial. If it's a thing that you do on the spur of the moment, then you're not going to get enough good quality feedback, or you're not going to get as much of it as you could have. It's not an optional. It's an essential. You've got to be doing it every time that you have a good result with a customer, whether it's short or long term, because the more you do it, the less hard you have to work to persuade others to sign up with you. The less marketing you have to do, the less time you have to do persuading people. The more often you'll jump on a call with somebody, and instead of it being, persuade me to work with you, it's how can you help me? It's more about how do we get started. The quicker that your networking group will buy into what you do and be able to refer you. It's, you talk a lot in your own world about, less work and more reward. And that is it. Less work for the sake of it. Don't do this and make less work for yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tommi. Ladies and gentlemen, so listen to what Tommi says, right? So his tip is that, make it into your business plan, make it into a regular activity, that every time you finish a service with your client, ask for a video testimonial, right? So we are upping the game. I know many people, especially those from BNI, would ask for a testimonial, but it's a written testimonial. Let's take it the next step up and ask them for a video testimonial. So Tommi, if let's say I'm having a client and let's say I don't have any other tools, can I use now one of the iPhones, one of the Samsungs to do that and get the testimonials from them using the handphone? Would that work?
Yeah, it does. I've seen it work. There is a guy in a London BNI chapter who does a lot of work for people in that room. And every time that somebody stands up to give him praise, out comes the phone and he records it. And he has that footage, he takes that footage, he gets it branded, he puts it on his website, and then he tells people to go use that website to refer him because it's got tons of clients on it. So they don't have to explain how he works. And he does SEO, which is a rather abstract concept for a lot of people. People won't understand why you would pay somebody a lot of money to do something you don't understand. So by filming all these clients talking about his web design and SEO work from BNI at the meetings on the phones and putting them on his website, he's vastly getting more business.
That's brilliant, isn't it? So the question that I sometimes I ask myself when I'm not sure is, when you take your handphone and you take a video, do you take it this way, horizontal, or do you take it vertical?
Some people will disagree. I prefer horizontal.
Okay, why?
That's the way that the human eye sees things, and that tends to be the way that fits comfortably into most YouTube videos and is more versatile. Some people will disagree though.
So remember the tip, okay? So I'm going to trust Tommi because in my eyes, he's the expert. So when Tommi says horizontal, I'll stick to horizontal. Because sometimes, once in a while, I try to do a Facebook Live and I get the direction wrong. And then when it comes out on Facebook, people have got to, stand this way to look at it. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us at the Ask YP Live Now show. Before we go, I'm just going to say about the next week's speaker. So next week we're going to have an amazing lady by the name of Luz. She's going to come on board, and then she's going to tell us how to thrive, how to overcome a situation where we are coming out of a challenging, or we are in or coming out of a challenging relationship. Okay, so let me just put this one up. Yep. So this is the next one. That's on next Thursday. This Ask YP Live Now show is on every Thursday, 7 p.m. So it's the same time slot as you're listening to right now, if you're listening to live. And so next week's topic is how to thrive coming out of a tough relationship. And this lady is a much sought after consultant, and she's an emotional quotient, an EQ specialist. So ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to having you come regularly and join us. And I'll see you next Thursday. And for those of us who are joining this for the first time, I want to give you a free gift. Okay, I've written a book that has just in the last 2 weeks become an Amazon bestseller, right? So you can have your copy. You don't have to go to Amazon to buy. You can have a copy of this free ebook, or free digital version, 10 proven strategies to work less and more. So here's the link, either go to that link, or you can see the QR code up there on my virtual background. Take a picture of it, So it doesn't matter whether you're live, whether you are seeing a recording of this, go to either this link below or this QR code up there and get a free copy of this book. It's an Amazon bestseller, right? So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, for being with us. And Tommi, let's say bye-bye to everybody. I wish everybody a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, see you. Have a great week.
Well, thank you, YP.